eyes look to me now to justify my father's faith in me. Rule as he would have wished.
At any rate, we must begin.
There is none yet to control the...
In the matter of event,
your resources are small and your hazards are many.
Daeron Targaryen, he's a claimant to the throne. You're going to have to kill him.
you may not rule and remain yourself. There is a new door that must shut. You will do things that your heart would have recoiled from.
I dispute that I must become what I'm not.
Time will tell.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is going to be my full breakdown of the House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 3 trailer. There's a ton packed into this one. Easter eggs, callbacks, a few genuinely confusing moments. So let's dig into all of it. The big headline here. The Greens are out. The Reds are in. Rhaenyra and her people have retaken the Red Keep, which means she can finally sit on the Iron Throne for real. And if you stop and think about it, that's actually wild. She's been the rightful heir since she was a teenager, but she's never physically sat on that throne. Tons of other people have parked themselves on it over the years, just never her. The only time we'd even seen it was in Daemon's visions, flashing between a young Rhaenyra and an older version of her on the throne. Now it's actually happening, and after 3 seasons of build-up, there's something genuinely satisfying about finally seeing her in that frame, instead of in a vision or someone else's dream sequence. It also says a lot about how this whole war has played out. Every other claimant, Viserys, Aegon II, even Maegor generations back, got their turn on that throne, while the person with arguably the strongest claim of all had to fight tooth and nail just to get near it. I don't think the show is going to let us forget that symbolism anytime soon. Quick side note, HBO still hasn't dropped the official episode title, and they never do until after the episode's already aired. Kind of an odd choice on their part, but my guess is the titles themselves give away too much of the plot, even though the next time on trailers already spoil plenty. As for the trailer itself, it's mostly focused on Rhaenyra's first day on the throne. And spoiler, it is not a victory lap. The Greens left her a disaster zone. The small folk are hurting, they're going to want answers fast, and if she can't deliver, she's the one who's going to take the blame. Taking the city was the easy part. Actually running it, that's the hard part. Turns out being a monarch is mostly paperwork and budget problems, not glory. The trailer opens on her sitting on the throne wearing her father's crown, which is actually also Jaehaerys' crown. Viserys took it from him when he became king, because Jaehaerys didn't want to wear his father Maegor's old crown, which originally belonged to Aegon the Conqueror. That older crown is the one Aegon II had been wearing. Given that he apparently got rescued by the Triarchy fleet, my guess is he still got it with him. It's pure Valyrian steel, basically priceless. Keep an eye on that thing. In the throne room, you can spot Lord Largent in his gold cloak still acting as her Queen's Guard for now. A line of people are waiting to petition her. Basically the same setup we saw with Aegon II earlier in the season, or Viserys way back when. It's the unglamorous day-to-day grind of ruling. Corlys is right there beside her too, since he's still her hand of the king. It's a nice visual reminder that even though the throne has changed hands, the actual machinery of government, the petitions, the queue, the endless complaints, doesn't stop or reset just because there's a new face up top. My read is that most of these petitioners are going to be complaining about food shortages caused by the very blockade Corlys put in place. That blockade is also why the Greens hired the Triarchy in the first place, to try to break it and get supplies back into the city. So now, Rhaenyra is stuck cleaning up a crisis she technically created. Normally, the fix would be simple. Pay for food shipments, except the Greens already blew through most of the treasury hiring the Triarchy. No money, no food, no easy way out. And the people are going to blame her regardless, because from their perspective, all they know is that there's nothing on their plates and there's a new queen sitting in the castle. That's a brutal position for her to start her reign from, and it sets up exactly the kind of slow-burn political pressure that this show does well. We also get scenes of her with Daemon in what used to be the king's chambers, now hers. She looks a little less exhausted, the dark circles are fading, but there's a new kind of intensity creeping into her expression. Emma Darcy has actually talked about this in interviews, describing it almost like religious conviction taking hold, like she genuinely believes this is fate, destiny, prophecy. A lot of that comes from Daemon himself, feeding her this narrative tied to the legend of Aegon's prophecy and the visions he picked up from the weirwood tree. That's one of the real dangers brewing this season, her leaning harder and harder into that fanatical certainty. We get several different throne shots too. In the books, the throne actually cuts her. And here, you can see her gripping the blades tightly, so that moment might be coming. Daemon tells her it's time to begin, and her staff starts laying out just how broken things are. No food, no money, no functioning castle. There's even a quick shot of her stepping over a rat mid-hallway, which doubles as a nod to blood and cheese, since cheese was literally a rat catcher. The Red Keep has always had a rat problem. Historically, even Otto Hightower brought in cats to deal with it, but this shot is probably foreshadowing the banquet scene later in the trailer too. Next, a quick small council scene, Corley's still hand, Mysaria stepping into the Mistress of Whisperers role. It's her first real council meeting as queen, working through a long list of urgent issues. Then there's a key conversation with Daemon about Daeron Targaryen and his dragon Targaryen, the Blue Queen. Daemon's pushing her to consider killing Daeron, the same way Aegon and Aemond eventually have to go. Alicent had already accepted that Aemond might need to die, but she'd hoped Daeron would be spared. That's literally why she sent him off to Old Town to foster with her family. The problem is, Aemond Hightower has basically turned Daeron into his personal squire and dragged him into the fighting, dragon and all, exactly what Alicent didn't want, and now Daeron's squarely on Daemon and Rhaenyra's radar. Things escalate fast. We see Daemon flanked by Caraxes and Silverwing facing down the Hightower army with Targaryen posted on the other side. But here's the twist. The Daeron they bring out is clearly fake. Silver hair, totally different face from the real Daeron we saw in episode 1. Even Targaryen reacts like something's off, making this confused, almost distressed sound when she sees him. That's a pretty clever detail if you think about it. The dragon would know her actual rider on sight, so her reaction alone is basically confirming for us, the audience, that something is very wrong here before any of the human characters figure it out. Maybe Aemond is betting Daemon's never actually seen Daeron in person, so he figures he can get away with the swap, at least long enough to stall or bluff his way through this confrontation. We'll see if it actually works, or if Daemon clocks it immediately. Also worth noting, Jon Roxton shows up too, and Aemond draws his own Valyrian steel sword, Vigilance. Combine that with Daemon's dark sister and Roxton's orphan maker. And you've got a serious lineup of ancient Valyrian blades all converging in the same spot, which usually means something significant is about to go down on screen. Back in King's Landing, there's a banquet scene where Rhaenyra is visibly sizing up the room, likely trying to figure out who actually supports her among the city's wealthy and powerful, basically hunting for more rats in her own court. Then comes a big Alicent and Rhaenyra scene. And there's a lot of it this time since they're both physically in the Red Keep now. No more contrived reasons needed to put them in the same room. In past seasons, the writers had to engineer excuses for these two to even talk, and now that's just naturally solved by the plot. Alicent is worried, warning Rhaenyra that the throne is going to push her toward darker choices than she ever imagined, the same way it twisted Aemond and Aegon. Rhaenyra brushes it off completely, but the implication is that circumstance, combined with her growing belief in this prophecy, is going to pull her further down that road regardless, whether she wants to admit it to herself or not. It's going to be a real test for the writers here. Daenerys' collapse into Mad Queen territory in Game of Thrones Season 8 happened way too fast to be convincing. She was basically fine at the end of Season 7, and then, in the span of a couple episodes, she just snapped. Hopefully, House of the Dragon learned from that mistake and gives Rhaenyra's arc a lot more room to breathe, showing the gradual accumulation of pressure, paranoia, and grief that pushes someone toward that kind of extreme, rather than just flipping a switch for dramatic effect. Given everything we've already seen with her losing her son, losing allies, and now carrying this entire failing kingdom on her shoulders, there's actually a lot of material here for the writers to work with if they pace it properly. We also get a couple of quieter scenes of her and Daemon together, including in bed, something we haven't seen much of lately given how distant they've been. Taking back the Red Keep seems to have closed some of that gap. He's one of the only people she fully trusts right now, even if episode 1 showed her caring less and less about his approval. Later, she's tearing down green banners, anything tied to Aegon or Aemond, seemingly setting up a knighting ceremony for the dragon seeds. During that scene, there's